Imagine you're looking for a new home in the US. You browse through the listings online and see some beautiful properties that catch your eye. You check the prices and your jaw drops. They are way out of your budget. You wonder how anyone can afford these homes. You feel discouraged and frustrated. Before you start thinking that the housing market is rigged against you, let me share a secret that very few are in on. The housing market is not as strong as it seems. Actually, the warning signs of an impending crash are evident in what you have just experienced. However, it's important to mention that you were fortunate not to have entered the market during the pandemic. We all remember the disruptions the pandemic caused, especially forcing many people to work from home. According to experts, another factor occurred that caused an unprecedented surge in housing prices: the relocation of young urban households due to family formation, resulting in a greater demand for larger living spaces. Certainly, the overall scarcity of housing also played a significant role, with recent studies suggesting that approximately 3.8 million housing units were lacking due to disruptions in home builders' operations caused by lockdowns and other measures implemented to contain the virus. As a result, the median housing price reached over $500,000, more than 3 times the median sales price in 1992. In fact, there have been 3 clear spikes in housing prices since 1963, 1990, 2007, and 2018, but none of them compared to the 2020-2021 eruption. According to a Bloomberg analysis, housing prices heated up in Sunbelt metros more than anywhere else in the country. For example, Cape Coral in Florida experienced the most considerable percent rise in the median sales price between May 2020 and May 2022 at 72%. Other markets with more than 50% increase include North Point, Boise, several cities in Utah, and Phoenix. Indeed, certain housing markets in the Sunbelt region experienced such a significant surge in prices that they surpassed historically expensive cities. For instance, in February 2022, Miami became the least affordable housing market, surpassing traditional leaders like New York and Los Angeles. According to the Reality Hop Housing Affordability Index, households in Miami would have to allocate a staggering 78% of their income to purchase a house. So far, we have observed the trends in housing prices from a year ago, and this information holds significance due to what lies ahead. It is crucial to have this information readily available, particularly regarding the housing market situation in the Sunbelt, as it will enable you to perceive the looming dark clouds on the near horizon with clarity. But before we dive into the heart of this discussion, please support our channel with a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Most importantly, watch to the end, because I will provide some tips for homebuyers who wish to avoid the housing crash. The background. Home ownership in 2021 was at its highest in the past decade in the United States, says the National Association of Realtors. The organization's calculations show that the home ownership rate jumped by the highest ever annual margin of 1.3% that year. Still, the number of Americans who own homes is almost 4% lower than the record peak of 69.2% established in 2004. The high appetite, especially for family homes, expanded aggressively in 2022 due to pandemic-related factors, including a mass exodus from urban cities to suburban markets. Right about mid-March 2020, the S&P Home Builders Select Industry Index started rising exponentially as more investors piled into the stocks. The index went on to gain a little over 210% in the next 14 months. Looking at the S&P Home Builders Select Industry Index today, anyone will be forgiven for thinking that times are still rosy. After all, the index is up 27.96% year to date. But to see the other side of the picture, one has to circle back to 2020-2021 and investigate the factors that initiated the initial bullishness of the Home Builders Index that lasted until June 2022. Most outstandingly, the recovery or the perceived recovery of the U.S. economy from the pandemic boosted consumer income, spending, and confidence. Other factors that propelled the demand for home builders' stock include a low interest rate environment and a limited supply of existing homes. However, dark clouds are forming, and the conditions for a housing market collapse are falling into place. Dark clouds are forming fast. It doesn't seem appropriate to claim that dark clouds in the housing market are forming fast because a deeper look at the market indicates the honeymoon was over 2 years ago. The NAHB Builder Confidence, an index that tracks the sentiment of home builders in the market for newly built single-family homes and published by the National Association of Home Builders, indicates that the housing market has been declining for more than 2 years. Since the historic peak established in November 2020, the index attempted a recovery in 2021 but was later overwhelmed rebound, launching into a downward spiral that didn't seem to find a bottom. If anything, the index reveals that while home buyers and home builder stock investors were bullish about the housing market, the people with their teeth in the game had severe doubts. One could argue that the tanking NAHB builder confidence was due to an excessive supply in the market. However, it is not unreasonable to suggest that some builders were concerned about the market being in a bubble that could burst at any moment, and no one wanted to be left with the consequences. And it doesn't stop there. While the housing market has favored the supply side for much of the past 3 years, experts believe the landscape is shifting in favor of buyers, as the latest Zillow Home Price Expectation Survey says. The survey polled 107 experts, and 44% said the housing market would become a buyer's market in 2023. Interestingly, the experts cited factors that, when examined closely, indicate that a crash is coming. One of the highly cited reasons for the gloomy forecast on the market is falling housing prices. In April, the median existing home sales price dropped 1.7% from the previous year, a trend replicated in May with a 0.2% decline when the market expected a rebound at least 5%. Otherwise stated, home prices have fallen year over year for the first time in 131 months, ending the longest price growth streak. Another contributing factor that is negatively impacting the housing market is the increases in mortgage rates, which have doubled since the beginning of last year. This rise in rates is limiting the purchasing power and affordability of potential home buyers. There's no hope for a different story, given that the expensive mortgage rates may keep rising because the market expects the Fed to raise interest rates again at the next meeting. According to the CME FedWatch tool, the probability for the Fed to raise the target funds rate to between 5.25% and 5.5% is 74%. Additionally, the banking sector remains unstable and layoffs are still happening. These and many other factors point to trouble in the housing market. But where does it begin? Where the collapse begins. If you may recall, I stated earlier that the Sun Belt market had been one of the hottest housing markets in the country for the past few years. We learned that markets such as Florida's Cape Coral posted 72% price hikes in 2 years, from May 2020 and May 2022. 1 year later, the market is still overpriced, as shown by Realty Hop Housing Affordability Index for May 2023. According to the index, 3 out of the top 5 least affordable housing markets are Sun Belt housing markets, that is Miami and Hialeah, Florida, and Los Angeles, California. The problem with prices being sky high and affordability declining is that it always leads to disaster, and the Sun Belt market is firmly on the road to disaster. According to a recent analysis by Redfin, a record number of home purchase agreements backfired in August 2022 in Sun Belt cities. The number was equal to 15.2% of homes that went under contract that month, says the report. The percentage of home buyers backing out of purchase contracts hovered at around 15% for the 3 months to August 2022, a record development since the pandemic. If you believe that August 2022 is a distant memory and numerous events have transpired since then, it would be worthwhile to heed the insights of David Chang from The Motley Fool. To Chang, the Sun Belt housing market became a hotspot due to pandemic migration. For example, house prices in California's Malibu spiked by 82% in Q1 2022 compared to the same time the prior year. This frenzy was killed by rising Federal Reserve benchmark rates and buried by the costly mortgages that keep getting more expensive. To make matters worse, the Sun Belt housing market is likely to be hardest hit when the nationwide housing market boom bursts. The boom started in the opening months of 2021, driving prices skyward by 17% through the summer of 2022, says a Fortune magazine analysis. Sean Dobson, founder and CEO of property powerhouse Amherst, told Fortune that the boom is what exotic monetary policy will do for you. Analogously stated, the housing market is overvalued by close to 40% because of government efforts to backstop liquidity. Interestingly, Amherst Dobson's firm emphasizes that the 40% overvaluation applies only to a few cities, mostly Sunbelt cities, which include Phoenix, Dallas, Charlotte, Atlanta, and Tampa. Amherst purchases residential real estate property in other markets, such as the Midwest. Nevertheless, the analysts are confident that in the event of a crash hitting the U.S. housing market tomorrow, the Sunbelt market would have already experienced a collapse by yesterday. But if the predictions thus far do not seem ominous enough, consider Bill McBride, a renowned housing analyst. He argued in the Calculated Risk newsletter that the residential real estate market has two bottoms, activity and prices. McBride believes that price action in the market often trails activity. This means activity declines first and then prices follow. We already saw that the NAHB builder confidence is at a 10-year low, signaling that home building activity has slowed to a decade low. Undoubtedly, the collapse of housing prices is imminent, and it will start in the Sunbelt market. What to do? As scary as this reality check is, you must learn and internalize it before it actually happens. Even better, I will tell you a few moves you can pull to remain in the safe zone. You could wait for prices to drop further before buying a home, or look for bargains in less competitive markets. Refinance your mortgage at a lower rate if you can, or pay down your debt to improve your credit score. Diversify your income sources and build an emergency fund to weather a potential recession. Consider renting instead of buying, or downsizing to a smaller home if you need to save money. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. And watch this one as well.